All right, welcome back to Rhett's Play, and welcome to the Zarin Mines. We're here to collect a report from the Overseer inside the mines here. And what is that you hear? Well, my dear viewer, that is ambience. Yes, there are dungeons and maps in this game that are just pure ambience when you encounter them. There's no background music that plays, so whenever this does happen, I will just include a recording of some of the ambience to try to get yourselves in the mood as if you're along on the adventure with me here. As you can see, even though this is our destination for the mission, if I check the map, there's no map available to traverse through this area. There are maps available for purchase, but I am still a broke citizen, so even if I did find the seller that sells these this early, I doubt I would be able to afford it currently. So we're just gonna kind of scavenge around this dungeon blind. The Zarin mines here are full of bats and a few crabs here and there that aren't too difficult. Something I did not go into detail last episode, but I will bring it up here, is that there are no visible levels that you can easily see that are attributed to enemies. There's instead a system where you must select an option called check on an enemy, and check will give you a description of how easy or difficult the enemies are. If I check one of these dingbats here, you're going to see that it says that it's easy prey, meaning that we should have no issues tackling it. If we see something with a more intimidating description, we probably want to steer clear of that until we are a bit higher level or have a bit more confidence in what we can do. In one of the rooms here, we run into Rasmus, who, upon talking to him, says that if we want Macarim, she's waiting with her report further in the mines. So we're on the right track here. Macarim is the name of the Overseer we're out to look for. So in we go a bit further in the dark. As we approach the depths of the mines, we're going to run into a colliery bat. And if we do a check on this bat, they seem incredibly tough. I'm not quite equipped to tackle on a colliery bat quite yet. So instead, what I'm going to try to do is open up my map that I do not have floor plans for, but I still can do something called a wide scan. This lets us look at every enemy and NPC that is within a radius around our area. So I'm going to try to do this to find Macarim. They're probably further in than I expect. They're not immediately available. So we're going to try to just sneak past and hope that they don't aggro us. Sure enough, being brave, you could just walk right by them, so nothing to worry about there. As long as you don't upset them, we'll be hunky-dory. A little further in, we break out into a wider open area with a rich black darkness surrounding all the walls. I do gotta give props to the team, really nailing the ambience of this place between the lack of background music and the lack of light that you can perceive deep into these mines. It's really captivating. It really does give the sense that you're on a grander adventure and it's not always going to be comfortable. Moving right along though, I'm going to go ahead and speed this up. You can kind of just see that I'm going to just wander for a bit through these mines, desperately looking for Macarim, who, believe it or not, I actually get pretty stinking lucky with, and I just happen to run into them in a path that I was just wandering down. She keeps it pretty brief by handing over the report and asking us to deliver it to Naji, one of the Mithril Musketeers, near the President's office. Easy enough. Let's head out the mines and go see if we can find the President. Which will take a while. As we step out of the mines, I am immediately reminded that there are many monsters running about right now, which I get sort of distracted by.
What's this guy's problem? Goobaba? Where's Goobaba going? What's going on in this town, man? Okay, let's run around for a bit. Maybe I can spot the president's office. Don't understand what these guys are doing. Y'all live here? Y'all live like this?
Alright, confusion aside, this is part of a seasonal event that just happened to be going on during my first day in Final Fantasy XI called Sunshine Seeker. In order to play, you talk to this NPC that is a Mandragora named Baban Nymilia, and they hand you a suit in which you get changed into and play a minigame. The minigame involves you running around a city, interacting with the shards of sunlight on the ground to collect points, and if you run into any of the monsters that are roaming the streets, you will lose a few points, and you only have a limited amount of time to make it back to Baban. I tried this out a few times, not enough to really get any rewards, but it's worth mentioning that's why there's so many monsters roaming about, because of this seasonal event that is going on. So this is not normal. This is very weird. Alright, we got a president to find then, so let's get on with it. While I take a world tour around the city here, I'm going to quickly explain the geography of Bestoke. There's 4 main areas. There are the markets, the mines, the port, and the metal works. Where we want to go for the president is the metal works. However, I had it in my brain that that was only a place used for crafting jobs and not presidential offices, so I won't be going there for a bit, so bear with me. Instead, I ran into something that I thought was pretty cool and I didn't know was in the game. I ran into my very own Moogle house. Each player in Final Fantasy XI gets access to a Mog House. Mog House contains a Moogle that you can talk to. You get a whole bunch of different item management tools. You get some storage stuff. You can decorate your house with some furniture. You can change your job completely freely at will here inside the house. You have access to gardening inside the house, as well as some healing functions. This isn't a place I'll be probably showcasing that often. It's a lot more functional than it is presentable, I guess. But it's important to know it exists. If I get some fun furniture, I'll probably show off the furniture that I decorate with. But for now, it's really much more just a functionality that is pretty cool that it exists. Alright, so I skedaddle out of the house, and I'm still on the lookout for the president, which I really have to stress I was just lost. I'm running around for a lot of the time. I'm only including footage so you can understand how lost I'm gonna get. I ran into this cool Moogle, ran around for a bit more. I'm not gonna subject you to this all the time, but I'm just really just running around all these areas, talking to every NPC that I can. I'm doing a wide scan on the map to see if I can spot the president's office somewhere on the map, looking for Naji, anybody. I'm looking everywhere, man. I end up talking to this NPC named Black Mud that gives me a canteen that he wants me to fill up somewhere. I should mention this is how side quests work. There's no side quest marker. I believe there's NPCs you can talk to that will tell you where there's side quests in the city and who you should talk to, but there's not like an apparent marker on the map that's going to highlight, hey, this NPC has a quest. Sometimes you just talk to people and they just ask you favors, so that's how side quests work in Final Fantasy XI if you're curious. Maybe someday I'll get around to this brass canteen quest. I did end up talking to this NPC named Angry Bull that clued me into some of the troubles the Galcan people have. It turns out 20 years ago, during the Crystal War, the bridge connecting the mines and the markets were completely closed off, trapping many of the Galca in a scorched and burning mines district and forcing refugees to stay there. Extremely problematic and racist governance, it seems, here in Bestock, so maybe something to keep in mind. These people had it rough. But finally, a very kind chatter notified me that the president I'm looking for is in fact in the metalworks. So thank you, kind chatter. I really appreciate that. I'm heading towards the metalworks finally. So yeah, welcome to the metalworks. This place has a lot of low lighting, only lit by a few lanterns up on the walls. It's multi-tiered where you have to go up and down between a couple automatic conveyor belt elevator things. Sometimes you might miss the one, so you have to kind of skedaddle over to the other and use that one. From what I can tell, the lower level is mostly the industrial part of this area, and the upper level is more of the administrative stuff. And since we need to go find the president's office, we're going to go up into the more administrative part of the zone. We finally talk to Naji to hand in our report, and immediately are greeted by Lucius, who is the president. Lucius, upon reading the report that we hand in, comments that more Galka are starting to believe in someone called the Tailkeeper returning. Even though Naji refers to this more as a Galka myth, Lucius is not convinced and is more concerned that the Tailkeeper is already back among them. He praises us for our good work, and we are done with our very first mission. I'll be kind of cutting around now, since right now I'm just kind of meandering around town, not really up to anything too specific. One thing I do run into is an NPC called the AN Liaison, who gives us a rundown of something called the Assist Channel. The Assist Channel is specifically just a chat room for folks like me that are new to the game, who can chat specifically with volunteers to help newer players who have questions. So in the future, I will likely be using this. From here, I step out of town for a quick moment to just do a little bit of grinding and complete some of the Records of Eminence objectives that we unlocked, but I haven't really done too much of. Not a whole lot to report there, nothing too interesting. A lot of it's just like, go defeat a monster, go open some treasure chests, pick up some crystals, that kind of stuff. One of the objectives actually is about how to heal your character outside of battle, which is huge. What you do for this is you type in the chat bar /heal, and your character will take a kneeling stance, which takes some time for the heal to actually activate. You can kind of see I'm continuing to kneel, and eventually this will pop. There we are. So yeah, healing, you can do that without white magic or without a potion, but sure as heck takes a bit of time, huh? So we'll use that probably at these lower levels where I can't afford stuff. I don't know if this will be widely used later on. It's really kind of a backup strat right now, early game. At least I hope so. I did get really stupidly lucky opening up a locked chest while I was out here grinding. I inspect this one to find out that the second digit is odd. After that, my very first numbered guess is 82, which is not a second digit odd number. So, kind of messed that up right off the bat. We see that it's lower than 82 at least, so we go for 21, which is greater than that. We inspect it a second time to know that the first digit is even. So we're making progress. So we throw out just 47 out of the blue, and what the heck? It frickin' worked. For our troubles, we get an Evilith, which to this day, I don't know what that does yet. It looks like it has like a little tornado icon with a number going up, so I'm assuming it maybe adds elemental magic to something. Maybe? We'll find out someday, I'm sure. I eventually grind enough to reach level 8 before just heading back to town here. So we're going to go ahead and talk to our friend Goldago that's been giving us some tutorial quests. We turn in our current quest of leveling up, and he gives us the bad news that from level 31 onwards, if we do happen to perish we will be penalized about 10% of our experience points in order to reach the next level. So there's an experience point penalty for dying in the world when you get later on. So we're going to have to be real careful when we get later in the game. In order to help out with that, though, he does give us a raising earring, which casts the magic re-raise on us. So if we do happen to die later on, this would automatically resuscitate us. As for our next tutorial mission, he is requesting us to go all the way out to a place called the Konstadt Highlands and just slay one beast somewhere out there in the Highlands. Supposedly it's outside of the Gustaberg region, so we have to go trek out quite a ways to go reach it. So that will be something that we'll reach eventually. Next to him, we also go ahead and speak to Cledes to take on our next Bestoke mission. This one is called a geological survey. Cledes lets us know that a chief engineer is conducting some new research and is asking for some assistance. Turns out the chief engineer is a fellow named Sid. And so he refers us over to Sid to go and get some more details about our mission and sends us on our way. Short and sweet. Before we go and meet Sid, though, I run into a NPC named Clarion Star who's going to help us with a very essential magic that we will want to cast on our adventures called Trust Magic. The Trust Magic system is basically a thing that was introduced later into Final Fantasy XI's lifespan that lets you adventure alongside a variety of non-playable characters that you would meet, whether they're special one-off kind of characters or story-based characters. You can basically add them into your party and summon them, create your own team compositions. They all have different kinds of classes and skills, so you can kind of mix and match all of these different Trust NPCs. And Clarion Star is going to go ahead and introduce us to this type of spell. He refers us over to Naji, who is the fellow that's standing outside of the president's office, where we turned in our report for our very first mission just a little while ago. So we're going to go ahead and head right back to the president's office and talk to Naji, which starts a cutscene in which we summon a copy of Naji, who he has some banter with back and forth, calling himself a doors man and whatnot. And all he requests us to do is to go out into the open world and give it a shot, try summoning him and see if we can try out the Trust system. So we will assuredly do that. Conveniently enough, the Metalworks is where we need to be anyway to talk to Sid, who was our destination for our mission anyway. So let's go ahead and hop on over into Sid's office, and give him a quick chat. Sid knows that we're here for the mission and that he was expecting us, and asks his assistant Rybot to bring over a thingamajig. He requests Rybot to say something, and Rybot says, "I brought the thing." And the thingamajig that he brought over is something called a blue acidity tester, and he specifically wants us to go to Dangruff Wadi near South Gustaberg. Long and short of it is that we just need to bring the blue acidity tester to a place in the Wadi until it changes color. The moment that this blue acidity tester is a non-blue color, some other color, mission complete. Then we just return back to Sid. Now that we know our mission, let's go ahead and take a small diversion to do some Trust Magic stuff for a bit. Out in the open world here, we're going to go to our magic menu and select from the Trust. We're going to go ahead and summon our friend Naji. And just by summoning him, we complete a Record of Eminence objective to summon a Trust, which gives us the cipher for Balaneral, which we will have to go back to Clarion Star to actually activate later. So with that in mind, we're going to go back into town and let Naji know that the Trust sequence worked great, that we were able to summon him. Afterwards, we take a trip over back to Clarion Star as well to give him our Balaneral's cipher. And this will start a chain reaction of different trusts that we're going to unlock one by one here, where we have to go to Clarion Star, give him our cipher, go out into the field and summon them to go back to Clarion Star to tell them that we have a new cipher. I'm going to really try to condense this whole process down, so going in order here. First off, we have Valinero that we just unlocked. Valinero is like a Paladin Knight guy. Next up is Mili Aliapo, which is some sort of bat user. I don't exactly know what class this is. Pardon me, I'm going to get a lot of these wrong as far as classes go and whatnot. They're a melee user of some sort. Honestly, they might just be like Valinero, where they're just like a paladin. Next up is Tenzin, who is like a samurai guy. Afterwards is Adelheid, some sort of scholar class. And they talk like we're a assistant detective. Not sure what their whole shtick is, but we'll play along with it. Then there's Joachim, who is a bard, a mean-looking bard. And that does it for the trusts up to this point. I'm going to find many more friends on our adventures, and we will take a look at each of them as I unlock them, and I'll show them off, of course. But for now, these are the starting trusts that you get right at the beginning of the game. And with that, I'm probably going to wrap up this episode here. I feel like this is a good stopping point. This ends my first day's worth of adventuring in Final Fantasy XI. So I'll cap it off here, and then the next time we will be starting on my second day of adventuring. That will feature, new adventures, and we're going to continue on our missions through Bestoke. So I appreciate you all watching up through here, and I will catch you in the next episode. Thank you.